Shalom Aleichem, everybody. We are up to Be'ezras Hashem Daf Chav Ches. We start from the Mishnah at the bottom, Daf Chav Zayin Amud Beis. The Daily Mishnah. Shoichet es hazevach. Somebody shechts a carbon lizroik domoy bachutz, and he has a machshava to be zoyrik the dam outside of the azara. A mixes domoy bachutz, or some of the dam outside. Lahakter emurav bachutz, or to be makter the emurim that belong in the mizbeach. Bachutz, chutz lazara, mixes emurav bachutz, or mixes emurav bachutz, lechel basari bachutz, or to eat some of the basar bachutz, a kazayas me basari bachutz, or a kazayas, or lechel kazayas me oir ha'aliyah bachutz, or to eat the kazayas from an oira aliyah, from the oir, the skin that's under behind the tail. Bachutz, pasul. Ve'en beikaris. That's pasul because chutz l'mekayma we know is pasul ve'en beikaris. Lizrek damay l'machar, miktas damay l'machar, lakte mur l'machar, miktas mur l'machar, or lechel b'sar l'machar, kazayis b'sar l'machar, lech kazayis ma'ir aliyah l'machar. Right, the same cases, except this time he has a machshava not l'chutz l'mekayma, he has a machshava to be machalit l'machar, to eat it l'machar. Okay. Pigel, that's pigel v'chiyav and all of karas. So chutz l'zmano is pigel and is chayiv karas, and machshava chutz l'mekayma is just possible, but he's not chayiv karas. Savrua, so the Gemara, one of the items mentioned in the list of the Mishnah is oir aliyah. Now the machshava is that he's going to eat the oir aliyah either b'chutz or chutz l'zmano. So the Gemara, Savrua oir aliyah ka'aliyah dami. At this point, the Gemara thought that the halacha of oir aliyah is like the aliyah itself, which means it requires to be muktar on the mizbeach. You have to do aktar on the mizbeach with the aliyah, with the oir aliyah. So the Gemara says, 1 second, his machshava is to eat it, chutz l'zman or chutz l'mekaymo. The aliyah, the oir aliyah, is supposed to be muktar on the mizbeach, is supposed to do aktar with it, right? And yet, the machshava of achilas chutz l'zmanoi renders it pigel. Hagam, it's not a dover ha'oimid lachol for people. It's dover ha'oimid lahakter la-mizbeach. So, frag the Gemara, v'makchashev ma'achilas mizbeach la'odam, you're taking a dover that's shaykh to achilas mizbeach, which means it requires haktara, and you have a machshava about achila to eat it after the zman, or to eat it outside of its makam, and yet it works. It renders it pigel or puzzle. So you see, can be mechashiv and achilas mizbeach la'odam. Amar Shmuel, the Gemara says, Omani Rabbi Eliezer, you're right. This is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. Our Mishnah is Rabbi Eliezer, who says that you can be mechashiv on a dover hanechal lamizbeach if you're mechashiv to eat it lachilas adam. Mechilas adam, mechilas mizbeach also. That not a shoychet as hazevach lechel dover she'ein darka lechel hak, dover she'ein darka lechel to kosher Rabbi Eliezer poisel. Rabbi Eliezer apostles, which means Rabbi Eliezer says that even if it's a dover haroy laktora and you have machshava about achila, or it's davar al achila, you have machshava about aktara, it works to make it pigel. Says the Gemara, the Maya came to Rabbi Eliezer, going to tell me the Mishnah is Rabbi Eliezer, Ema Seifa. Look at the Seifa, Ze aklal, kol ha-shoichet, v'ha-mekabel, v'ha-moilech v'ha-zoyek lechel, do sh'darka lechel hak, do sh'darka lechel do v'sh'darka lechel in, sh'darka lechel loy, asan l'Rabbanan, Reish Rabbi Eliezer, Seifa Rabbanan. So the Seifa is clearly like the Rabbanan, because the Seifa highlights, says that it's only pigel if you have machshava la'achila on dover shedarka lechel, or you have a machshava la'aktara, chutz l'zmana, on dover shedarka la'akter. So the Gemara asks, so that's certainly the Rabbanah. So Reish Rabbi Eliezer, the Rabbanah, and yes, okay. We don't like to do that, but yeah, in certain occasions we do it. We say that's taka the whatchamacallit, that's taka the Metzias, where the Reish is Rabbi Eliezer and the Sefer of the Mishnah is Rabbanah. Ravuna says, it's not a kasha b'chlal, it's not subject to this machlokes b'chlal. He says, oir aliyah lav ka'aliyah dami. The oir aliyah is not ka'aliyah, which means it's really amid lachila. So that's why the Mishnah says, you have machshava lechel chutz l'man chutz l'mekaymo, it makes a pigel or puzzle. You know why? Because davar amid lachila, not davar amid laktara, because oir aliyah is not ka'aliyah with regard to haktara. Says the Gemara, Amarava, my time in the Ravuna, Chelboy, Ha'aliyah, Veloy, Oy Ha'aliyah. It says only the Chelev of the Aliyah is hooked on the Mezbeach, but not the Oy Ha'aliyah. Chizda Omar, Lo Ilam Oy Ha'aliyah Ka'aliyah Dami. Really, I'll tell you Oy Ha'aliyah Ka'aliyah Dami. So are you going to ask me, so why in the Mishnah, when you have a machshava, Lechol oir aliyah chutz l'zman chutz l'mekayme. Why would you be? Why would you chayv? Why would you make it pigel? L'chayra, it's davar amid laktara. Amid lachmaiskina, but aliyah shel gedi, aliyah of gedi, everybody holds that that's amid lachila, and you're not makter the aliyah of a gedi onto the mizbeach. Okay, gewaldig. Says the Gemara, Kulu k'Shmuel amri. Nobody wants to say like Shmuel. What does Shmuel say? That the Reish is Rabbi Eliezer, who holds that k'mechashav achilas mizbeach la'adam. Gemara asks, Kulu k'Shmuel amri Reish Rabbi Eliezer sefer Rabbana. Nobody wants to resort to a doichik where you have to say Reish is Rabbi Eliezer and sefer is the Rabbanan. The Gemara says that's why they don't want to answer like Shmuel. Rabbanan l'muk b'karavuna. I'm sorry, l'muk b'karavuna. Why don't they want to say like Rav Huna, who says Oir Aliyah is Lav Ka'aliyah? Because Le'amri Oir Aliyah Ka'aliyah Dami. I'm sorry. Lamuk Rav Huna. They don't want to answer like Rav Huna because Le'amri Oir Aliyah. I'm sorry, I'm not reading it right. Nachamul. Kulu k'Shmuel Amri Reish Rabbi Eliezer v'Sefer Rabbanan Le'mukmi. They don't want to establish the Mishnah as two different Tanoim, right? Reish Rabbi Eliezer and Sefer Rabbanan. K'Ravuna lo Amri or Aliyah Ka'aliyah Dami Kamashmalu, because they hold or Aliyah is Ka'aliyah, and according to Ravuna you have to say or Aliyah is Lav Ka'aliyah. K'Rav Chizda my time lo Amri. Why don't they want to say like Rav Chizda my Kamashmalan or Aliyah Ka'aliyah Dami? According to Rav Chizda, the whole chiddush is that or Aliyah is Ka'aliyah, right? When it comes to a gdi or Aliyah is Ka'aliyah. I don't need that because Tanina ve'elusher is saying Kibsaron. These are the oiris that have a din like the basar oisha tachas aliyah. So it's mamash a mishnah. Rav Chizda itzrach salkat atach min halam in yentuma. The rakich mitzarif. The mishnah is talking about to be mitzarif different parts of an animal in yentuma. Yeah, in order to be matama tumas eichlin, you need a kabetzer. Tumas nevelis is bekazayas. So if you have a piece of the oir aliyah together with a piece of basar, it's mitzarif to kazayas or to a kabetza with regard to tumah. Why? Because it's the rochich mitzarif. It's soft, so it can be considered as part of the basar. V'lacha ema lamashcha legedula k'derech shamlochem oichlem v'lavidim malachem de'achli achi, and the malachem don't eat the oir aliyah. Ema loisa. Therefore, I would say with regard to karbanis, where it says lamashcha, where the kahanim have to eat it kederech malachim, and the or is not something that the malachim eat. So maybe over here I would say that it's not ka'al yadami, kamash malan, that even here it's ka'alya. So the Gemara meisavei hashoychet asa oilo lahakter kazayis ma'or shetachas alya chutz lemekayim paslavim bekaris. So here you see, if somebody shechts an oila to be makter kazayas from the or behind the aliyah, yeah, to be makter the or aliyah, it's possible. It's pigel. Okay. Lozman Yudi Eshavelo Maimrim. Aimrim Shem Rabbi Yaakov V'chein Reb Shimon Ben Yudish Kfar Ikusam Shem Reb Shimon Echador Beis Haproses Beimedaka V'echador Rosh Egel Arach V'echador Shtachas Aliyah V'chol Shemon Chom Gabatoma El Shenke Besoron Lavi Yoshel Beis Habayis Chutz L'Mekayim Postel Leim Bekaris Chosman Pigel V'chayoven Olav Karis. So Gemara says, Kapona, what do you see from this? You see from here Oila En Aval Zevach Loi. Only in Oila do we say that the machshava to be makter and oir aliyah passes. But zevach, if you just had a regular zevach, not. So you see that a machshava of being makter, the oir aliyah, chutz l'mekayim chutz l'zmanoi, doesn't help by shar zvachim. So Bishlam Rav Huna Hainu Diktoni Yoila. According to Rav Huna, who holds oir aliyah is lav ka'aliyah, that's why it says only by oila and not by other karbonis. Because by other karbonis, oir aliyah is lav ka'aliyah, so it wouldn't be a problem because it doesn't belong on the mizbeach. Machshav is a k'torah and doesn't belong on the mizbeach. Eller Rav Chizda Mai, the Tony Oilus Nazevach, he holds everywhere in all Karbonas. The halacha is Alyas Ka'alya, so why would it only be by an Oila? Why would it only an Oila, a Machshava to be Maktir, the Ora Alya, Chutzlam Kaim Chutzlas Manoi? Why is it only true by an Oila, according to Rav Chizda, to be true by every carbon? Because he holds Ora Al Ka'alya. It always goes on the Mizbeach. So Machshava to be Maktir, Ora Alya, Chutzlas Manoi, Chutzlam Kaim would be an issue. On the Rav Chizda, he by saying about Alya Shal Gdi, he by saying Tani Zavach. Either we'll say that over here we're talking about by an Alya of a Gdi, and that's why when you're bringing a Gdi, so a Gdi, the halacha is, by other karbonas, it's eaten, right? It's not ka'alya. You don't put it on the mizbeach, and therefore a machshava, when you bring a Gdi by other karbonas, a machshava to be maktir it, we wouldn't render it pegel. It's only by an oilo which is completely consumed on the mizbeach. V'ibay say tani zavach, or you say that it's tani zavach, which is all karbonas because he holds or alya ka'alya taka. Okay. Okay, so the Gemara, we learned in the Mishnah a major chilik. The chilik between Chutz L'Mekayma, which is Pasal V'Ein Bekaris, and Machshava Chutz L'Zmana, which is Pigel V'Yesh Bekaris. Says the Gemara, Pasal V'Ein Bekaris, Menan Emilei Mashmul Trei Kroi Ksivi Mahi, Omer Rabba, so dort zwei Psukim. Omer Rabba, Shlishi Zeu Chutz L'Zmanoi. Right, it says in Parshas Tzav, Ochel Ya'ochel Mepsar Zevach Shloma V'Yem HaShlishi. So Shlishi implies that you went past Shnai Yom V'Layla Echad, the time slot that the Torah gave for a Shlomim. So you went past that. So Shlishi is Chutz L'Zmanoi. Yana Machshavas Chutz L'Zmanoi. Pigel Zeh Chutz L'Mekaymai. And the word Pigel is teaching you Chutz L'Mekaymai. V'Nefesh HaCheles Mimenu Echad V'Lo Shnayim. Which means that we're talking about only one Isser, which is the Karis, the Avoina Tisa, which is Chiyav Karis, is only referring to Echad V'Lo Shnayim, Mimenu, which is Chutz L'Zmanoi, not Chutz L'Mekaymai. How do you know that Mimenu is coming to be B'mayit Chutz L'Mekaymai, that it doesn't get Karis? Maybe B'mayit Chutz L'Zmanoi that it doesn't get Karis. Once Mistabr Chutz L'Zmanoi, Odiv the Pasach Bei. Since Shlishi comes before the word Pigel, and Shlishi we said means Chutz L'Zmanoi, so since the pasuk opens with Chutz L'Zmanoi, it must be that that's more Chamer. Adrab Chutz L'Mekaymai Odiv the Samichlei. Maybe Chutz L'Mekaymai is better because it's closer to the words of Avoina Tisa, which is Karis, so maybe that gets Karis. Says the Gemara, Elom Rabbi, Kasir Yitzchak Ravdima Omer Rab, Samich Adatana Tana, he's Soimach on what the Tana says, Shoimer, Ashlishi, the Parshas Kedoshim to you. There's a pasuk in Parshas Kedoshim that says, V'im Ochel Ya'ochel B'yom Shlishi Pigel Hu Lo Yirotze. Right, Sheitam Loimar doesn't have to say Shlishi over there. Shari Kvar Nemar in Parshas Tzav. Ochel Yochel Mepsar Zevach Shloma V'Yom HaShlishi. So we already know Chutz L'Zmanoi. Many Chutz L'Zmanoi. Tnei Lein Chutz L'Mekaymai. So because we have the word Shlishi twice, one is in Parshas Tzav and one is in Parshas Kedoshim. So the first one Shlishi means Kipshutai, which is Chutz L'Zmanoi. The second one, which is not required for Chutz L'Zmanoi anymore. So there you use it for Chutz L'Mekaymai. The apostles the carbon. So Lamaisa, once you limit the pasuk in Parshas Tzav, the Shlishi in Parshas Tzav for Chutz L'Zmanoi, so that pasuk in Parshas Tzav says that he gets karis Avoina Tisa. So only Chutz L'Zmanoi gets karis and not Chutz L'Mekaymai. So the Gemara says, Omit Rachmana Gabei Noisar, over there in Kedoshim, the reason why the Shlishi doesn't get karis, which means Chutz L'Mekaymai doesn't get karis, because it says over there by Noisar, V'oich Lov Avoinoi Yisa, it's Lashon Yachid, L'miyut Chutz L'Mekaymai, that there's no karis on Chutz L'Mekaymai, Machshav is Chutz L'Mekaymai. So the Gemara says, once you have a miyut in the pasuk over there in Kedoshim, right, afterwards it says, V'oich Lov Avoinoi Yisa, is Kodesh and Chilel, V'nichur Sanef Shehim Ha'amel. So you see there's karis over there in Kedoshim as well, and the Parsha Kedoshim is talking Chutz L'Mekaymai. But the Va'oich Lov Avoinoi Yisa is talking about karis, is nicer, not Chutz L'Mekaymai, it's Mamayit Chutz L'Mekaymai from karis. Ask the Gemara, how do you know Avoyna Yisa is going to be Mimayet Chutz L'Mekoymoi and says only Noiser gets Karis? Maybe the opposite is true. Maybe the other way around. The Miyat is Karis and Chutz L'Mekoymoi is Noiser and the Chutz L'Mekoymoi gets Karis. No, it's better to use Avoyna Yisa in Parashas Kedoshim for Noiser. Then it gets kares. Why? Because lemigmer of the chutzlas mana. Because we learn exer shava from there. The chutzlas mana in Parshas Tzav that chutzlas mana gets kares of an ovain. So we'd rather the kares in Parshas Kedoshim, which is used for exer shava, to Parshas Tzav, which is chutzlas mana. We'd rather that it's talking about noiser over there in Kedoshim, the domale bezav, because it's similar to chutzlas mana in two areas, 2 points. Zman, Zayin stands for Zman, because both Hisurim have an element of Chutzlas Mana, Noiser, which means you left it over Chutzlas Mana and you're eating Chutzlas Mana, and Pigel is the Machshav of Chutzlas Mana. And also by Boma, they're both Noyig, even by a carbon that you're Makrev Bezman Heter Bamas. Okay, so that's why we'd rather keep the pasuk by in Parshas Kedoshim v'oichla v'oyna yisa, where it mentions cars, we'd rather keep it to noiser, because anyways we're learning that pasuk to Gzeir Shava to Chutzlas Mana, and it's more similar. Noiser is more similar to Chutzlas Mana. So more Adrab Chutzlas Mekoymai have a look with the chorus. It's better keep it to Chutzlas Mekoymai. Why? Because Chutzlas Mekoymai is similar to Migmar Oven Chutzlas Mana Damlei b'Mikdash. Right? It's similar in four ways. Yeah, Mikdash stands for Machshava. They both are psul machshava, as opposed to noiser, it's not a psul machshava. Ktsas, even if you leave over, or machshava to leave over a little bit of it. Dam, and they both apply to dam. Or shlishi, and they're both learned from the pasuk, from the word shlishi. El Rabbi Yochanan, Tani Zavdi Bar Levi, Asya Kodesh Kodesh. How do I know that the chorus in Parashas Kedoshim, V'oichla v'oyna yisa, is talking about noiser, because there's Gzeir Shava Kodesh Kodesh. In Parashas Kedoshim, the end of the pasuk, it says, Kes Kodesh Hashem Chilel, Ksiv Hacha, As Kodesh Hashem Chilel v'nechrasa. Ksiv Asam, and over there by noiser, Mefurish, when the Torah talks about noiser, it says, V'sraftas noiser be'esh, Lo Yachel Ki Kodeshu. Ma'ala la noiser Afkan, noiser mitrach managabe noiser, V'oichla v'oyna yisa, Lamutachas l'mekayim v'karas. It says only noiser gets karas, which is a miyut, right? Miyut for Chesed l'mekayim doesn't get karas. Gemara says, my chazes, okay. Now the Gemara is going to go back to the supposition that we had all the way in the beginning, that the pasuk in Parshas Tzav, when it comes to the word of avoinoi, right? We come to the word of avoina tisa. It's talking about karis, which is karis, talking about chutzlas manoi. Maichas the kra aricha. The Gemara calls that kra aricha. The pasuk in Parshas Tzav. Chutzlas manoi, that the chorus over there is talking chutzlas manoi. Shlishi the Parshas Kedoshim tiyu chutzlas mekoymoi, and the shlishi in Parshas Kedoshim chutzlas mekoymoi epechano. Maybe turn it around. Say that the pasuk in Parshas Tzav, which it says avoyna tisa lo nexer shava, that it gets chorus, is talking chutzlas mekoymoi, and the shlishi in Parshas Kedoshim, which is nesmayit from chorus, is chutzlas manoi. So Gemara says mistaber richim chutzlas manoi. It's mistaber that the pasuk in Parshas Tzav is talking about chutzlas manoi. The gomer oven and noiser. The damale bezav. Because anyways, you learn Exer Shav from the word Avoyna Tisa in Parshas Tzav to the word Va'oichla Avoyna Yisa in Parshas Kedoshim, and we know that in Parshas Kedoshim Avoyna Yisa is noiser because Exer Shav of Kodesh Kodesh. So once I know that, we'd rather have the other Avoyna Tisa in Parshas Tzav be Chutzlas Manoi, because that is more similar to noiser. Where it says Adarabba, Aricha b'Chutzla Mekoymoi, better establish the pasuk in Parshas Tzav. That it's talking about chutzlas mekoymoi, shlish t'kavtim chutzlas manoi, mishum the domale samche v'kumamayet fakert. Since chutzlas manoi is taka more doimet to noiser, let both of them be in the same parsha and be next to each other, and it's more mistaber that way because they're similar to each other. V'kumamayet and the Torah is mamayet the chutzlas manoi from Einish Karas. So again, we don't have clarity. How do we know that chutzlas manoi gets karas, and chutzlas mekoymoi gets is only possible? Ela merava kulu mikra aricha asyan. They're all included in the pasuk of Parshas Tzav. And now he's going to darshan every word over there, and we'll see how we know chutzlas manoi is karas, and chutzlas mekoymoi is no karas. It's just possible. The chsiv steht in the Torah over there in Parshas Tzav. Hay ochel ye ochel. right? Double lashon achila. V'shtei achilas kas medaber. Ech dechilas adam, ech dechilas mizbeach. Okay, mipsar zevach shlomov, and it says zevach. The word zevach, yeah, ma shlomim mefaglin umispaglin. Av koil mefaglin umispaglin, just like shlomim. The koyin is mefaglit, and the dovar aroy lachila, dovar aroy laktara is nispagel. Av kol mefaglin or mispaglin from the word zevach. Mepsar zevach shlomav. Shlishi zachutz lazmanoi. It's chutz lazmanoi. Lo yerotze teaches us k'artzois kosher ken artzois posel that there has to be ache krivu kol matirov. Right, just like artzois kosher, it's not complete until you do zriko. Right, the hartzah, the ritzoy of a carbon kosher isn't nishlam until you have a krov of kol matirov, until you have zriko all four avodas adam. Af artzois posel. So too, when you have a machshava of pigul in one of the avodas, it doesn't really register until you do zrika of that dam on the mizbeach. Hamakriv ba'krovo nifsal ve'in nifsal b'shlishi. Yeah, what does it mean hamakriv? That it's only pigul if you had a machshava b'shas akrovo, but not if you actually leave it over b'shlishi without a machshava. Oisoi b'zevach chas medav ve'in medav b'koyin means it passes the carbon. Right, pigul passes the carbon, but it doesn't passel the kohen from doing the avodas hamikdash. Lo yechoshev, lo ya'arv b'machshavas ha'cheder, which means that if you have machshav chutz l'zmana, let's say by Kabbalah, and then by halacha you have machshav of chutz l'mekoymoi, yeah, then it would denounce, it would deactivate or deconstruct the machshav of chutz l'zmana, and it wouldn't be pigul. Okay. Pigul is a chutz l'mekoymoi. Yeh melamed shemistafan zeh mezeh. That if you had a machshav of chutz l'zmana and a machshav of chutz l'mekoymoi, if you had a machshav of lechol chatzi zayis chutz l'zmana and lechol chatzi zayis chutz l'mekoymoi, it's mitzdarf to passel the carbon. V'anefesh achels mimenu echad v'shnayim ve'ezeh chutz l'zmanoi the gomer oven min noiser damer lebezav. Okay, so basically what we're saying is that the emes is chutz l'mekoymoi chutz l'zmana is learned from the same pasuk. Right? Shlishi is chutz l'zmana and pigul is chutz l'mekoymoi. But when we talk about v'anefesh acheles mimenu, right? It's only one. Which one? Chutz l'zmana. Why do we want to say chutz l'zmana karos is chutz l'zmana? Because there's avoina tis over there. Because the avoina is nilmat from the v'oichel of avoina yisa from noiser. We know over there it's noiser because kodesh. So memela, and it's more dummy to noiser. Chutz l'zmana is more dummy to noiser, and since you learn from Xer Shava to noiser, we'd rather establish the avoina tisa karos by chutz l'zmana. Amli Rav Papa, Larva Ledidach, Shlishi the Pashas Kedoshim, Tiu my Darshas Beis. So Oibazo, if you learn everything in Pashas Tzav, what are you going to dash with the word Shlishi Pashas Kedoshim? Says the Gemara Maboyele by Pashas Kedoshim Lamakam Sheim Shulish, Bedam Bebasar Ve'emurin. That if you have a machshava of Chutz L'Mekoymoi, the only place really that constitutes Chutz L'Mekoymoi is a place that B'Shas Hater Bamas, it was kosher to be zarg the dam there, it was kosher to be eating the basa there, and to be makter the emurim there. Gemara asks, Tepik mikra kama. Why do you learn it from the first pasuk? The apker rachmanu b'lashon shlishi. Amar Rav Ashi, from the fact that the Torah expresses the word. Just finishing up the daf of Chav Ches. The fact that Torah expresses the word chutz l'zmana b'lashon shlishi, so maybe you could learn from the fact that Torah uses the word shlishi for that it's only b'mokem mesholish. Amar Rashi mitzvah tzkam dervastav amali im asam amin shlishi prat pigol klal v'nasa klal mosef ala prat b'srabi sham mekayim kamash mula, and over there you can't learn mokem mesholish from the word shlishi in Parshas Tzav. Okay, very good. So Rava, bottom line, Rava says that chutz l'zmanoi b'karis, chutz l'mekoymoi is only possible without karis. Is all learned from the pasuk in Parshas Tzav. That's the whole drush is in the pasuk in Parshas Tzav, and the shlishi in Parshas Kedoshim you use it shei meshulish b'dam b'basar ve'emurin, and you couldn't learn it from the shlishi in Parshas Tzav because over there's a klal, a prat, and a klal. So klal moisef ala prat b'sham mekaymis. Okay, we'll stop over here.